Greetings all, BWS2K here again with another entry in the Mythicals series that we've been working through. This one will be called Like a Song for reasons that will become apparent momentarily. I did want to point out that in my reading of the manual, and in tradition with me always forgetting rules, one of the things that heroes can do is spend plot points to activate limits on opponents. It's actually not really going to come into play for this session, for this scene, but moving forward, as there is a reminder to me and a reminder to you to remind me that we can start getting a little more aggressive with our limits. Not that we need to be much more aggressive. I mean, we've got a lot of damage, a lot of even some trauma going on with several of our heroes. So, and that was quite an ending last time, and I just love not planning. I know I say it every time, but I love not planning ahead, because then it's a surprise to me too, and I love navigating, threading the needle of trying to make a cool story out of things. So last time, just as a super quick recap, we had Scott and Colossus were at the mansion. Scott was healing up from his injuries. Carol, Natasha, and Ben responded to an alarm at Boomer's, what did I call it? Boomer's Bullets or something like that. It was like a gun shop. And the end result there was that it had been sort of taken over by Jigsaw, Crossbones, Razor Fist, and Bushwhacker. Natasha snuck in through the roof, took out Razor Fist, and then the other three battled Carol and Ben, and Carol ended up getting hurt pretty badly, and then really badly, healed up, and then got hit really badly again. And it ended with Jigsaw and Crossbones opening and Bushwhacker opening fire on some rockets that were laying around. I kind of extend the definition of the what's in the scene as we go, as needs be. I figure it was more like a surplus shop, gun shop. So, there's all kinds of stuff there. Why not have some rockets? If you're going to call the place Boomer, if your name is Boomer and you're opening up a shop, you probably have some rockets, right? But it ended with Jigsaw pulling the pin on a grenade and having all of that explode around. And that's where we left off. And so where we're going to pick up, we'll move to the Mythic sheet. And you'll kind of see what I did. So stick with me. It's a lot of words, but it was I was really excited about this session. So I started with, and I'm going to share this with you. This is how I go through the whole process. This is the flow. This is why I'm sharing these scenes or these behind the scenes, because it's an important part of how I solo roleplay. And it's something that I enjoy as much as the actual narrative that unfolds. So I had this idea of opening with a split screen of Colossus and Cyclops and Ben and Carol, sort of in the moment. Like I was thinking maybe Cyclops would go critical, and then Carol was really badly hurt at the very end last time. So maybe it was like, a split screen of teammate looking at, unconscious or wounded teammate. And then we would flash to Natasha's point of view. I didn't do much with the split screen moving forward. That kind of got discarded early on because of the way things mythically, using mythic, the way things kind of proceeded. But that's okay. We do still pick up with Natasha's point of view. We set the scene, and so I said after the first page opening, we flash back to Natasha's view of what transpired. So we're doing a bit of a flashback to what I just described as how the last session ended, but we're going to see it more from Natasha's view, because after her initial taking out of Razor Fist, she really didn't do much in the scene, and we didn't really see what was going on, like in the back of the building. So she will escape. These are my ideas. She'll escape by using Razor Fist's body as cover, and then ultimately learn that he was a life model decoy or robot of some kind. And then my idea was that this scene was going to be focused a lot on her. And so she would go to the East River and try to find Griffin's body and investigate that and see if he was also a life model decoy. But as it turns out, with Mythic, we rolled and we had an interrupt. So last time I had planned that they were going to be taking over a bank, that the bad guys were going to be at a bank. And then I rolled an alternate scene, something like that, where you basically take stick with your main idea, but flavor it a little bit differently. I think the example they give in the Mythic book is you plan to walk into a crowded pub and you roll an alternate scene and you walk into the pub and it's actually empty and there's no patrons or something like that. So it's a minor change, sort of like the next logical change, which kind of fits. But that's not what an interrupt is. That's not what we rolled this time. Interrupt is where you roll an entirely, you use the random tables that are in Mythic to generate an entirely new scene altogether. So it doesn't mean you can't resume what you were wanting to do, and in fact, kind of we're bookending with this Natasha point of view, but we'll roll. So then I rolled. I went back. We'll read that stuff in a minute, but I went and I rolled to see what our scene would be. And so the event context is basically just everything that's happened until now. All of the escape from the raft and the battle and carnage and the mini helicarrier crashing and up into the last scene that we did, and including all of that stuff too. So we rolled, I rolled, the event focus was on an NPC positive. So this is going to be somebody who isn't part of our main party, and something good is going to happen to them. And then the event meaning, which I rolled, was the word, I think, what do they call them? Is it focus? There's meaning, but it's like, I don't know. They have two different lists that you roll on to get triumph and love, I think, if I'm recalling correctly. But at any rate, it's, you kind of take that and interpret it. So my interpretation immediately, of course, I'm thinking triumph of love. I've got Cyclops in here, and he was just like dreaming of Jean. So does someone marry? Does someone fall in love? Is it Scott and Jean? Is there something about Ben and Carol? Is it Nat in a cameo? Do we have totally random other cameos? This is an interrupt, and I put that in capitals because I can lose my train of thought, as you may have guessed, but it still does somehow tie in or relate to the narrative some way. Like it's a random scene, but it is not an utterly random scene, right? It's somehow we have to stitch together. Oh, there goes my phone again. Apologies. Put that on silent. Ultimately, it still has to stitch into the narrative that we're weaving, right? So the next scene the next step is to play out the scene and then end the scene, but we didn't really do that yet. So I had some fate questions using the fate chart, and I said, is this about totally new characters? And then if it's not, it's going to involve at least one of the established mythical heroes, the 5 party members that we've been using. And the answer was an exceptional yes. Yes, exceptionally yes. It is about totally new characters. So my answer immediately is like, I want to make original characters, right? There's a character generator for Marvel Heroic. And of course, in the past, I've used the Marvel Superheroes game to generate characters and then sort of ported them over. And I thought, that could be cool, but I get lost. It's almost like an entirely different mode to be in when I'm making up original characters like that. So I kind of shied away. It's a bit complex. And then I thought, well, maybe we can take some of the minor characters that are in the books and build them up, right? Make them into hero characters or major characters, I think is what they call major, minor, extras or something. I forget. Cortex Prime calls them something different, but maybe we can take one of the small stat blocks and make it into a full-fledged main character. Maybe one of them is a villain, or maybe they're both villain. Maybe it's some escaped inmates and they're reuniting. And I put in bold that it doesn't have to be romance, right? I jumped triumph, love. I jumped right into a marriage, right? I jumped right into romance, and I wanted to throttle myself back and be like, well, it doesn't have to be romance. As it turns out, we did go that direction, or I did go that direction, but I wanted to be open to all the possibilities. And I spent a good part of the day yesterday, because I rolled this up about 24 hours ago, and I spent a good part of the day just thinking through different combinations of characters. So then before I got, I spent a couple hours doing that, and then I came back and I asked this question: is this, sort of quote, triumph of love, the direct result of the happenings of what has already gone on in our narrative, like the different things? So it's definitely, that's the context, but is this a direct result of those things? And the answer was yes. So again, at this point, after a couple hours, I was really drawn to the idea of having some villains reuniting, and I figured I might have to make some data files because some of the characters might not be in there, but that exceptional yes is making them totally new, and I just love that idea. So then I was thinking, well, maybe it's some inmates from the raft. Maybe they had some pen pals on the outside or on the inside, or some kind of relationship on the inside that they weren't able to hang out very often or something like that. And then I sort of had the bulk of my day was thinking about, there's a character named Coldheart, and I'm sorry for this ramble, but some of the backstory may be of interest to you, and I feel like it's important for context moving forward for this scene. Coldheart is, her name is spelled Kateri Desaranto, like the word K-A-T-E, Kate, and then R-I, and actually they used her name in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. television show. However, my understanding is that it is a Mohawk name, or has origins in the Mohawk language, and it's pronounced Gaderi. I'm probably butchering that, and that's relevant because in one of the few comics that she's in, she indicates a Mohawk origin, that she has some heritage from that, and so from that culture. And so her last name, Deseranto, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it means, her first name means pure, I think, and then her last name means something like lightning has struck or something. I could be misremembering. I should have put them up on the screen. It's not super relevant what the name means. It is more relevant that she did reveal that, and she was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I felt that was worth pointing out because they like to take characters like my boy Michael Collins and turn him into not Michael Collins, but still use him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Sorry, that's a side ramble. And I'm not editing it out because it deserves to be in here, and this is my video. So so I had this idea that she's like, okay, I want to use her. And then I actually found that she had a data file in one of the books from Marvel Heroic that was never published, but it was released digitally. I don't know where I've collected these over the years, but I found different pages and data files and things. And she has a data file. It's for a minor character, but nonetheless, she has one. And then she has, or next to her is Speed Freak, who is also a character. And he was only in, I think, 2 comics. I mean, technically 3, but the second one was 2-parter. And he is more, Coldheart is like an agent that used to work for the government, and she had these blades that could paralyze you and maybe freeze you, depending on which comic you're reading. And then Speed Freak has like an armored suit that basically has rocket feet, and he has some adamantium blades that he can use. He even like cuts open the Hulk and stuff, like really, really tough stuff. But both of them have lost children. In Coldheart's case, she blames supers, and in Speed Freak's case, he is more or less to blame. It was sort of a dramatic situation, but both of them have a loss that I feel like they could probably bond over. And this is funny because I didn't even realize it at the time. Their data files were next to each other in the book, because at the beginning of Civil War, when the New Warriors, I think is the name, when they're like the very opening event before Nitro blows up, the reason Nitro blows up is the New Warriors attack this house that has 4 people in it. And the people are Nitro, Cobalt Man, Coldheart, and Speed Freak. And so there's no indication in the comics that they have any kind of relationship at all. There's no explanation as to why those 4 are together. You know, did they randomly find the house? Were they buddies on the inside? It's not indicated. But I took that a little bit further, and I thought, what if in the Raft, through rehabilitation, Speed Freak was a drug addict, in fact. What if they were able to kind of bond over this sort of mutual trauma and sorrow, and sort of grow to become a little bit more than just friends. And but of course, being inmates, that can be tricky. And now that they've escaped, they are finally able to act like that's their focus. You know, like Jigsaw wanted to like hold up a gun store, Carnage wanted to take some hostages. These guys just want some time alone. So all that being said, this is kind of how I wanted to open. So Natasha leaving the very unconscious body of Razor. So we're going way back to the beginning. This is the flashback. Okay, so we open our comic book. Natasha, leaving behind the very unconscious body of Razor Fist, begins to approach the front room where Ben and the other thugs are. Jigsaw says, and I thought of this line afterwards, and I wish I had included it last time, but we're going to retcon a little bit. We'll do that as we move along. So Jigsaw says something like, "Heh, the younger capes are usually pretty dumb. Didn't expect this kind of mistake from one of the originals," which is a huge dig at Ben, of course, right? First family of Marvel. He pulls the pin from his grenade. Natasha's eyes go wide, like we get a nice shot of that. She dashes back down the hall, and she tumbles, like does this acrobatic move over or across Razor Fist's body, which brings it back up like a shield behind her, which shields her from the blast, and she's blown out of a back window. And then moments later, smoldering and this sort of thing, she is laying on the asphalt in the back, like a back parking lot or back lot. She looks down at the body, and the body of Razor Fist is actually riddled with shrapnel and damage, but also like open circuitry and indications that this was mechanical and it's a robot. That's comic book. But we're doing something totally new with totally new characters, and it's a random scene. And sometimes when I'm thinking Marvel stories, I'm thinking comic books, and I'm thinking prose writing, and I'm thinking exposition. Sometimes when I'm thinking Marvel stories, I'm thinking the MCU, I'm thinking film. So This next piece, the bulk of our scene that isn't bookended with Natasha, is going to be, in my mind anyway, it's not a comic book. I'm thinking less panels and more live action. So we leave Natasha and her revelation that it's a robot, and then we start to have it sort of fades to black, I think, and then we come up and or maybe pan down, and it's nighttime, and we close in on a church which is very obviously condemned. It's boarded up on the windows, and it's kind of in disrepair, and I think maybe even, and it's sort of the classic design, right, with like the bell tower up front. Maybe that's even like crooked, or the bell is hanging crooked or something, right? We cut to the inside, and there's a radio on like a little wouldn't be a table, but like not necessarily a podium in the center of the front, like at the altar, but like off to the side. There's a radio, and we're close up on the radio. Like the radio doesn't even fit in our screen, right? And it's a news report that is addressing the recent explosion over at Boomer's Bullets, and it's cut off when a hand comes in and clicks the station. It's wearing. We see very clearly, and there's like a glimmer that this hand is wearing a wedding band. And the song by Etta James, At Last, right? Okay. Look it up if you haven't heard it, because that's going to be like integral to understanding the flow of the scene and what's going on in my brain anyway. That song begins playing, and the person who owned the hand walks back into the background, but it's blurry past like the little table, the focal, it's all blurry. So we can't see exactly who it is or what's going on, but they kind of walk back, and there's someone else there, and they sort of embrace, and they start to slow dance in front of the altar, and there's a single candle lit, right? And our view, just as the song is playing, is just kind of like slowly sweeping across different parts of the scene. We see some discarded inmate jumpsuits from the raft, orange, but we also see like some fast food wrappers. We see sort of salvage, secondhand, low tech, low quality scanner, and some other supplies, lockpicks, knives, batons. Maybe they, maybe there's an officer who's missing their equipment, and also probably things like a sleeping bags or a sleeping bag and some pillows and bedding and that sort of thing. They basically, it's now been over a week since the breakout, and these folks have holed up here, right? And then like one of the last things, of course, that we see is a discarded wedding dress and a suit, on the floor. And so it becomes clear as the song is playing in the blurry background, it becomes clear that this couple is just kind of in their undergarments and slow dancing and just enjoying. The tone here is intimate and it's personal. It's PG-13, right? We're not being overtly sexual or crass. Sometimes movies, even the MCU, tends to want to like really push their point, right? And we're not doing that. And the scene that came to my mind is, if you've ever seen Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, I think it's a theatrical release, because there's two different versions of it, and one version absolutely misses the mark in almost every way in terms of its editing. But the final scene, I won't ruin too much of the movie, but the final scene, or the final action scene, is them together back to back in a shootout with just like loads of mercenaries. And the soundtrack, it starts out with shooting and explosions, and it fades out, and in comes this guitar music from when they were slow dancing when they first met way back in the beginning of the movie. And it's one of my most favorite like cinema moments, that somebody had the presence of mind to link those two things: slow dancing when they first met, and then they go through all of this stuff and all these marital problems, and then they end up at the end and they're back in their groove. They've found their seating, and that song starts to come in. It's like a little Spanish guitar, and it's just so good. So that's like in my mind. So it's a shootout, but it's so intimate and just so well done. And so that's kind of the vibe here, is this couple is just enjoying being in each other's company, and obviously having marriage. Did they have a priest? It's a condemned church. How did that work out? It doesn't matter. The point is, in their minds, and for the purposes of this scene, and for us to understand the subtext, this is a couple who is finally, after a long time, been able to marry. However, you can see that last line outside. Jump, 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 jump. We've got fully armed Hydra agents. They've got their little Hydra symbol on the back of all their body armor, right? They begin to breach into the church, which of course is supposed to be condemned. So the whole time, the most important thing here, we'll zoom out a little bit. The most important thing to understand is that there is no dialogue here. And I'm going to try to hold myself to that. There's no dialogue during this little scene. The song is about 3 minutes long. Our video is probably obviously going to take more than that, but in terms of the flow of the scene, we're doing something random. It's an interrupt scene. It's not at all what we expected. And this is what we have. And so it's just following the rhythm of that song, and there's no dialogue. And I just love the idea that there's like some cool slow motion parts. Now, Speed Freak, I told you he has the suit. Cold Heart, she has body armor, but she has these swords, but they do not have those things at the moment. They do not have access to their original gear, to their true gear. So this will be interesting. I don't know how this is going to end, and I'm not convinced that our heroes are going to win, but they're not heroes either. So they've already won in a sense, right? They've already been able to escape and have some freedom and have some time together. So everything from here is just bonus. And so our enemy that we have is these expert Hydra troopers. By the way, our Doom pool has 1d12 and 1d6 left over from last time. We have 2 scene distinctions of Condemned Church, and then of course we have to have 1 scene distinction of At Last, because Etta James, right? And so our enemy here is expert Hydra expert Hydra trooper, and I believe this is from Civil War. But there's an interesting. I had to do a little bit of editing here on the sheet, because it says it's the stats for 1 person, 1 extra. But they have an SFX that says, and the most salient point is underlined there, when a die is knocked out from the team affiliation, so when it's a mob, okay, when you knock out a mob die, the Watcher can spend a D8 or greater, these are D8s, to add 2 additional dice, presumably 2 D8s, to a maximum of 6d8. So even though they start as 3d8, as they get whittled away, they actually can restore more to their number. Like they can just keep invading the church, or just keep showing up or popping out of the woodwork, right? As long as we have Doom dice to fuel that. Doom dice to fuel that. And then some notes. The music is what opens us, and then I think what's going to happen, and we'll begin here in a second, but right at the first beat of combat, the music is done. And maybe the radio even is like one of the first casualties, maybe a hail of gunfire or something like that. The music stops, and it's just a lot of that first moment is just a lot of gunfire and action and quick moves and things. But then we're going to have a moment where the slow motion comes in and the music comes in, the sort of the track, right? It's not, what's the word? It's not diegetic anymore, but it's for us, the viewer. And we're seeing that, and that's going to play out for the rest of the scene. So, and then a reminder that we need to finish up with Natasha finding Griffin's body and resume that thread. Okay, that's I think everything I wanted to say. You can see both of these came from I believe it's the 50 State Initiative book that I said, it wasn't published. Also, they got his name wrong. It's not Leon, it's Joss, but I don't know if that information was public when the book was made. And the write-up for both of them is pretty short. They usually are short. The relevant point being that I'm giving them a plot point each. I've upgraded their affiliations. They each have the same affiliations, but I upgraded them because they were minor characters. So when they roll, they're only going to be rolling an affiliation die, a distinction, either what they have or up here, and combat expert. And of course, if there's a complication on these guys, then they can include that, or if they get an asset or something like that. But so this is going to be kind of like an uphill battle, and I'm okay with it, not knowing. We don't have the safety net of knowing that our heroes need to win. I love that. Okay, sipping my water. So let's get going. So obviously the Hydra troopers are going to have to go first, right? They bust into the church, just boom. And I feel like maybe there's radio chatter as we pick up with them, and it's like, I thought this was supposed to be abandoned. Looks like there's somebody inside, sort of this revelation, and then they bust through and just start opening fire right away. In the comics, it'd be right? And it just sweeps across. You see the radio shatter, the music stops, and the 2 figures of Gadiri and Joss sort of dive in opposite directions, recover. And I think they don't have area attack, but it may make sense for them to just think of the 2 of them. Maybe we'll target Speed Freak. We'll target him because he is pretty tall, although she's pretty tall too. We'll just target him for beginning. I don't think now you can use SFX even if you don't use anything. If you don't, like, if for instance I wanted to use dangerous, I could use dangerous because it's not tied to this power set in a sense. But if it said something like in a pool that includes a die from stolen battle set, well then I couldn't, or battle suit, then I couldn't use it. But I could use that. Same here. The SFX, you can use an SFX even if you're not using a trait from the power set, right? Okay. So, but the Hydra Troopers, so they are, now it's an expert Hydra Trooper D8, but it's 3D8, but mobs don't have that top die. So we're ignoring that die. I should have covered it up. It's that's if it was like an extra, if it was just a single one, but making it into a mob is going to be this. So it's 3D8s and then small arms, 1D6. And this is to do physical stress to Speed Freak. Oh, love it. That's great. Okay, so mob total is 10 with D4 effects of physical stress. Speed Freak. He did roll 2 opportunities, and I think right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and spend a plot point for him to get a stunt. Spend a doom die to recover stolen battlesuit. So the analogous piece would be spending a plot point to recover the stolen battlesuit. Shut down, power to separate blows die, spend a doom die. Yeah. So in either instance, they could spend plot points to recover their stuff, but I don't even like the idea that that stuff is there. Like they haven't recovered their equipment yet. It's like in some shield storage facility or something. So, but with that stunt die, maybe we can grab one of their weapons or something like that. So this is a reaction roll for Speed Freak. He rolls his solo. I think last time we made the right call. When you're reacting, almost always it's going to be solo. Remorseless Killer, Snap Addict, Tragic Family, Condemned Church, At Last. I kind of feel like he's taking cover behind like some pews, which are just going to splinter with all the gunfire. So I think Condemned Church, but we're going to make it as a D4 to get that plot point back, because I'm not sure that, you know, the wood is rotted and things like that. It may not work out so well. And then Combat Expert, 1D10. Excuse me, that's a D8. So he has a D10 from his affiliation, and then a D4 for the distinction, and then a D8 for Combat Expert. Yeah, so last time we were rolling up into the 20s, and I think even did we get to like 27? Yeah, this time I think we're going to have a lot of low rolls. Okay, so SF's total is 9, and I can't do any more than that, because even if I had a plot point, the only other die is a hitch. But I will buy it to step up this D6, which means he gets another plot point. It looked like something weird just happened over there, but whatever. So now he has 2 plot points. So his total is a 9 with D4 effect. So he takes stress, but he's only taking D4 stress, right? So we're going to put D4. And okay, so that was them, but now it is their turn. And let's have Cold Heart go first. You know, they're focused on Speed Freak. They sort of see, I imagine them breaking, and he breaks to their left and she breaks to their right, and they follow him. But there's more coming in every minute, right? And so Cold Heart sort of ducks, dives, bobs and weaves, and tumbles acrobatically sort of out of the way and off. And I think her goal is going to be to create an asset. It's going to be tough against that Doom Pool. But I think she's going to try to... So we have... Oh, wait, can you spend a plot point to make an asset? I think you can make a stunt die, but it only lasts 1 turn. So I think we want to establish an asset. So let's do this. Let's do... let's have her try to pick up one of the pieces of gear, and we'll say it's like a baton, or maybe a pair of batons. And she can do that, but we'll see if they actually get dice assigned to them. So 1d10 plus government training 1d8 plus combat expert 1d8. Oops. And yeah, and then this is going to be against the Doom Pool. Oh yeah. So we're going to have the total be, what is that, 14? 14 with d10 effect. to create a ons set. And then the Doom Pool resists. Got a fair chance. 14 is kind of low. Yes. All right. Total of 8 with CH has batons. And actually, not only does she have batons, but she rolled a 14 and they rolled an 8, which means it steps up. She has batons. She has D12 batons. That's so amazing. Let's do... She has an asset called D12 batons now. So Speed Freak took some fire, and I don't think it was even bullets that hit him, right? I think it was probably just the splintered wood and the bruise of like landing on the ground. He doesn't have military training, and in fact, he's probably outside of his armor. That is his thing. Her thing is more than just her swords and her body armor. She has training. He didn't really have much training, so he's kind of injured, but she is able to just absolutely, respond in the blink of an eye. And then, so now it's his turn. What do we want him to do? He doesn't really have any weaponry to speak of, so he should probably do something similar. He does have the stunt die, and he likes swords and he likes armor, but he is necessarily doing so hot. So I think we gotta have him do. What would he use as a weapon? She's got some batons. I think they're like police batons. No, we should make them. Oh, you know what we should have? Okay, I said that there were like batons and stuff. That's not what she grabs. She grabs some like candlesticks, like some ornate, decorative candlesticks off the back of the altar, or off the side of the altar. Yes. All right, rad. So then Speed Freak is some. Could it be like some pew Bibles, or what would he grab? Offering plate. So he's gonna try to make a weapon out of like an offering plate that's there, and then maybe like he'll be able to throw it or something like that. Oh gosh, I love this. I love not planning. So 1d10 plus I think Condemned Church at d8 this time. It's like a rusty plate on the floor. And Combat Expert. And I think we're going to add the stunt die, 1d10. And this will be, again, against the Doom Pool. All right, not bad. So SF's total is, if we do both 7s, that's 14. Let's add in the 3. Let's spend a plot point to add in. Oh, you know what she could have done? She could have spent a plot point to share the candlesticks with him. That could have been cool. Doesn't matter. We're going to spend a plot point and we're going to add the 7 to 7 and the 3 that's on the D8. So that's a total of 14 plus 3 is 17 with D10 effect. Doom Pool is still 1d12. 1d8. Does it work out for him? 7 and a 4 is 11. It does. And it is also a heroic success for him, 17 versus 12. So, Speed Freak has offering plate. Oh my. This is so great. These Hydra agents have no idea what they've started. They've interrupted the honeymoon. Fantastic. All right, circles back, and now that they both have these weapons, I think maybe it's offering plates, plural. Maybe he has like one in each hand. She's got candlesticks, and he's got offering plates, and I think he's going to just turn right around and use them. I think he's going to maybe it's a stack of them, right? Because I don't want to use up the asset. It's more than a one-time use. We're establishing it for the scene. Wait, do you have to spend a plot point to establish it for a scene, or is it only a one-time use? Gosh dang it. I think you have to spend a plot point to make it permanent. I think you have to spend a plot point. All right, so we'll spend a plot point on both of them to make it permanent. That's my Cortexes and my Marvel Heroics getting crossed. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like it's only good for one use unless you spend a plot point and you make it last for the scene. So, all right, so neither of them has plot points, but that's okay. He's going to just like start chucking them right at the Hydra agents. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. From behind cover, from behind, you know, sort of these pews that are all splintered. So we're going to have him go first. And he will roll. They're going to get the D4 that his stress in their reaction roll. But 1d10 for solo. Actually, do we want it to be a buddy move? Yes. Let's do buddy. And we're going to have her lend her D12 candlesticks. maybe it's the supply. Maybe she's just like runs right up on one and just starts beating them with the candlesticks. Speed Freak is just like chucking these plates. And again, we're leaning into the slow motion. So it was this boom, boom, shatter and splinter and everything. But as soon as they get their weapons, there's that breath. And then we cut into the attack, and Coldheart just in slow motion is just like Jason Bourne beating, you know, Daredevil style, beating on the a nearby Hydra agent that has come through maybe a side door or has run up, and Speed Freak is just chucking these plates, but it's in this slow motion, and Etta James comes back in and it starts playing again. Oh, I love it so much. All right, 2d12s because he's borrowing Coldheart's candlesticks. So that incidentally, that's Coldheart's turn. Is she's going to give the candlesticks to Speed Freak, but they are just assaulting the Hydra troopers. And then for his distinction, I think we will use. I think we have to use At Last, right? But we'll use it as a D4 because this really could be their last moment. We'll get a plot point. A bit. And then Combat Expert. And this will be to do physical stress. Well, it's to take out mob dice. Okay, it's not fantastic. And I can only target one of the dice. One of the mob dice, because I don't have area attack. But I could spend a plot point to get another mob die. Well, if we add the 7 and 5, that's 12, and I feel like that's not good enough. I feel like I want to add that 4. So let's do the 7 and the 5 for 12, plus the 4 is 16 with D12 effect. So the D12 effect is kind of wasted here. It's, you know, super big effect die, but that's okay. So their reaction, they're going to get the D4 from his stress. And then they get their 3d8s plus their armor, which is a D6. Yeah. You know what? They don't have a specialty either. So I'm wondering if the Expert Hydra Trooper is their specialty. That could be the case. Maybe I do include that extra D8. I didn't last time. I think I should. It's not, you know, it's not designed, it's not written up as a mob, but I think mobs get specialties. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll include it. Now, you know, I'm not going to include it because these aren't special. These are thugs. This is a beat up to slow motion Etta James. So I don't think we need to worry about giving them too many dice. All right, their reaction here is, I think they can do it. Oh, but if I spend Doom dice. Okay, hang on. So we can do a 5 and a 4. Okay, let's do something cool. Let's do a total of 5. Mob total is 5. I'm going to add the 2 and the 3. And they're going to have the D8 effect. But this is what happens. So it's already a D12 effect. A total of 5 versus 16 is a double heroic, which means I get a D6, a D8, a D6, which then steps up to a D8 as an extra effect die. But a D8 doesn't take out a mob die, right? I need a bigger die. D8. D8 just steps it down. And that's going to get complicated. Well, okay. So maybe it was a slightly larger. Maybe I could do like the 3 and the 4 for a 7. So it's not a double heroic. But regardless, it takes out one of the dice. However, when a die is knocked out from the team affiliation, the watcher may spend a D8 or greater out of the doom pool. Add 2 additional dice. So the first wave of Hydra agents that have come mostly through the front door is sort of like pushed back, knocked out, battered with the reaction by the 2 main characters here. But there's just another surge that comes in, and now they're breaking in through the windows, pulling the boards off and crashing in, coming through side doors. So there's more of them. Yeah, I like that a lot. And now that was the... Oh, no, wait. Was that a reaction roll? He rolled to hurt them, right? That was the reaction roll. Yeah. And then they failed it. Okay. And so now it's their turn. They don't have area attack. So let's pick on Cold Heart this time. They are going to be... Yeah, I guess we'll use the small arms, which can include close combat. Maybe somebody walks in like the heavier armor with the shield, and it's like the jump, and they walk in and they've got like an electrical baton or something like that, right? So this moment will be her. But let's not forget, we've got the music, we've got no dialogue, and we've got lots of little slow motion cuts. But not every cut has to be slow motion, right? Not every little sequence. So this is not a slow motion sequence where they come in. Yeah, I like that a lot. Having so much fun. All right, so I said I wasn't going to do the specialty, but I will give them the 4d8 mob dice and small arms. And this will be obviously targeted at Cold Heart. Well, they don't have any plot points, so nobody can take advantage of that. That's a pretty good roll. Mob total of 7 and 8 is 15, with d8 effect for physical stress on Cold Heart. For reaction, of course, they are split up. Oh no, wait, they did a buddy move last time, right? I forgot to move the markers. I was so excited. But she's obviously being targeted here, so I think we have to go back to solo. She's being like singled out. Government training still feels like it's applicable here. But maybe not. Maybe at last again at a D4. Maybe this is her final moments. I didn't put out the lyrics to the song, but what I wanted to do was like key each action and reaction to lyrics in the song, so we have the flow and know exactly what's happening at different points. But I didn't go that overboard. So she gets a plot point for doing that, but maybe this is her finale. So that's the distinction. And then combat expert, 1d8, and then of course her candlesticks can be helping her. Yeah. And this is just her reaction roll. Against a 15, she cannot beat the 15. She will get a doom, or get a plot point. We'll add another die to the doom. So CH's total is 5, and 5 is 10, which means it's going to push. If I don't use one of the plot points, it's going to be a D10 on her. Yeah, that's okay. Let's have her total be 10 with D4 effect. She takes, so it's not going to be D8, it's going to be D10, right? It's D8 coming in, but it's a heroic success for the villains. So she takes D10 physical stress. Physical, yeah. So she like gets zapped. There's this slow motion moment of where the baton goes swinging and just hits her and slow motion electricity. Yeah, she was kicking butt, and now the tables have turned. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so new round, and so those them goes there. Do we pick back up with Speed Freak? I think we pick back up with Speed Freak. He sees what's happening to her, and so he, I think, is going to like dash across the front to her side and try to take out this big behemoth juggernaut electric baton wielding Hydra agent, because they always have like cool gadgets and stuff like that, right? So he's probably got some sort of like heavy body armor. But I don't think it's going to be a buddy action. It's going to be solo because she's getting very beat up. So, and this will be to deal physical stress. It'll be to take out another mob, essentially. I'm calling them out as unique characters sometimes, but it's ultimately just to reduce mob dice. The 1d10 there. I think we're going to go with Remorseless Killer. That's his past, but he doesn't have any of his equipment or anything. So I feel like he is in many ways reformed and calmed down. Certainly not an addict anymore, but maybe he relied on adrenaline in a way in the past in battle that is not. It's rusty, and so it's not availing him much here. He does get his combat expert, and he does get the dinner plates, and so maybe he's just like, maybe he just has one in each hand, and he's just like battering away and trying to maybe like use the edge of them like to like slice and maybe get underneath this guy's armor. That is that. That's to take out a mob die. All right. The mob is happy. Have a plot point. Reminder, I use plot points as soon as I get them, or I can use them. That's just my rule. So I think here I'll have to, although then I only have a D4 effect, and that's not very exciting. So maybe 10 is not. Well, that's what we got to work with. So a total, I should say, Speed Freaks total is 10 with a D12. Yeah, that's not much, but I don't. Yeah, it's not much. All right, well, the mob gets to roll its 4d8 plus Hydra armor d6 plus he has stress of d4. Yep. Oh wow, yeah. So that doesn't work at all. In fact, let's go ahead and do a counterattack. So if we make the total, let's see. So they have. So if we make mob total. If we use the 8 and the 6 for 14. And inflict 8 back at him, but I kind of want to spend a doom. I'm going to spend the D12. No, I'm not. I'm going to spend the D8 doom. So they can keep 3 dice. Oh, no, wait. No, I'd have to spend it to counterattack. Okay, so I'm not going to spend it to do this, but I'll spend it in a moment. So it's going to get spent. So we'll do the total of 14 with D8 effect. And we're going to have them counterattack. D8 stress to Speed Freak. So his D4 becomes D8. And I think he like leaps onto this baton wielding Hydra agent. And it's not that his attack goes wrong. He's doing great, but then like 2 others sort of fold in because now both Speed Freak and Coldheart are kind of like in the same location and they're just getting surrounded, right? This is Matrix fighting millions of Smiths, or not Matrix, but Neo fighting millions of Smiths, right? Like they're just swarming around the 2 of them and beating them down. And yeah. I love it. I love it so much. And the music is playing. Oh yeah, I love it so much. So let's have the baddies go. And I think maybe we continue targeting Coldheart since she got hit worst. I think they would keep on beating and trying to pull her down and stun her. But again, crackling and stuff in slow motion. Yeah. So we'll just roll for them 4d8 plus, oh, you know, they haven't been rolling distinctions. They should be rolling distinctions, right? They don't have distinctions. They do have Condemned Church and At Last. As you can tell, I was very excited for the scene. I didn't do, I guess I didn't do my due diligence in prepping, but that's okay. Yeah, I think maybe we do At Last as a D8 or D4. Let's do a D4. Really, yeah, as a D4. And then we'll add a D6 in. And this is for physical stress on cold. All right, so really want there to be a stun here. Want to take advantage of that. All right, she's going to spend a plot point. She's going to get a stunt die. No idea where this is going to go. Oh, and they should have added in her D10 too for her stress. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So mob total, we know what I'm saying. Mob total is 7 and a 6 is a 13. Yeah, okay. 13 with, let's go D10. Actually, let's spend the D6 to keep a D6. Is there another D6 in there? Or we can keep the 4? We can keep the 6. Okay, so let's add the 7, the 6, and the 6 for a total of 19 with the D10 effect for physical stress on. Well, man, I'm typing all over the place, but that's okay. So her reaction, which is obviously solo, government training. I think we'll go government training at D8, and then we'll use the stunt die. And I'm hoping in my mind that she is able to grab one of the batons and like jerk it out of someone's hand and smash it into somebody else's. So again, even if she's losing this reaction roll, you know, because there's just so many of them, that's what's going on. Is she's trying to rip it out of their hands. You know, she's on the ground, but she just rips it out of one of their hands and just in one motion jams it into somebody else's neck or something like that, right into their faceplate. So that's the stunt die, and then the combat expert D8. So this is just the reaction, right? Yeah. So she can do. She can't beat it, even with the stunt. Oh wait, you're not supposed to use stunt dice for. You're not supposed to use stunt dice for reactions. I'm sorry. So we'll take. I think it was this D10. Oh, it was the hitch one too. All right. Well, she didn't roll a hitch, so she's not going to get a plot point out of it. But yeah, I'm sorry. We'll retcon that. That is a rule. I'm pretty sure you don't use stunt dice on reactions. So her roll is a 10, a 3, and a 3. But against a 19, that is not enough. So Cold Heart's total is 13 with D8. And that takes her out. Oh, the phone is. Yeah, because a 13 to a 19. Well, a 19 steps the D12. So I guess her stress becomes D12. Oops. No. All right, and I'm gonna pause right here. Okay, we're back. And so she's at D12 stress. Yikes. That's okay though. So that was, whose turn is it? The mob total was 19. They were going for her, so they're over here. Speed free win. So now it's her turn. Yeah, okay. Well, I think we just have to go all out. I think she's on the ground. She's still got maybe just one candlestick. Maybe they've wrenched one away from her, right? And she is like very bad. It's almost like a zombie movie from above, right? Like just all kinds of huddled people just beating down and stunning with batons and punching and kicking and this sort of thing. And I think she's going to Hmm. I've thought. What if they had rigged the church? Do I like explosions too much in my comics? I might. She's got a candlestick. What if she how does this play out? The ground. Speed Freak is there too. You know what? I think it's gonna be like Aliens when the two are in the corridor and they each grab the grenade and it's like that moment and then it blows up. But I don't like having my characters blow themselves up all the time. That's not fun. Um, but it's got to be something like that. It's got to be like some last ditch. Like, what's she gonna do? Maybe. Hmm, yeah, this is a hard one. She's got the stunt die. I was gonna have her push her stress to get stressed out, but that feels like that also is not such a great idea. So maybe she reaches over, she reaches up through the fighting, and Joss reaches over to her, right? And they hold hands, and they're just having this moment while just being thrashed, and that could be the motivation for her to like do some sort of like he heaves her up, and she is able to like be pulled up and through and over the Hydra agents and do some really cool roundhouse kick in the midair. Sort of like going airborne to get out of the crowd, and he's helping her do it, so we'll make it a buddy move. Yeah, that's cool. 1d8 for the buddy move, 1d10 for the stunt die. Uh, 1d12 for the candlesticks. I think this is at last. But we'll use it as a 1d8. And then combat expert. See, the way to take them out really would be a complication, because then they could be using the complication against them as well, because they don't take stress, right? The way to take out a mob would be through a complication that builds. But if the complication builds up past a mob die, it just takes a mob die out and goes away. So it's a little bit help incrementally, but ultimately mobs can be tricky like this, especially if they regenerate like these Hydra ones do. But there's only one die left in the Doom pool. Oh, that's beefy. I like it. Okay, so we can do a 14. Let's do a 20. Let's spend this plot point to do a 20. With D12 effect, which again only is just going to take out a die, but it's like a massively awesome move. Yeah, we'll add the 7 and the 7 and the 6 for 20 with this D12 as our effect die. Beautiful. So they are 4d8 plus 1d6 and her 1d12 stress. This is their reaction roll. They can do 8, they can do 19. That is not enough, and I'm not spending a doom die to make them resist this. So mob total, I'm gonna put mob reaction total, so we're gonna 19 with d8. They lose. So one more die gets knocked out. And the trick here is if I use this doom die, I don't have any more doom dice in the doom pool for like next time, right? But obviously I'm going to throw in 3d6 for the next scene if we're out of the doom dice. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use this d12 to... Did I just take out one? Yeah, I just took out one. So now we're going to put 2 back for a grand total of 5. But there's no more doom pool. Fantastic. And that was Cold Heart's turn, and that finishes us up. So let's so basically he like launches her up into the air, and she kind of does this, like, maybe she steps across their helmets or something. Like, it's just this really cool power move that gets her up and over where she can get better footing and get out of the fray. And she's, you can see the bruises already welling up, and maybe one of her candlesticks is broken. But she kind of takes that pause, or not that pause, but that pose, the sort of superhero pose, back in the clearer space, several meters away. Like, come on, but again, no dialogue. So then I think it has to be his turn to see if he can join her. And he's got 2 plot points. And I feel very strongly that I want to use them for extra effect. Extra effect dice that I can take out more mob dice. So let's do that. Let's do Speed Freak is gonna, let's move this token. No, wait, did I just move the bad guy's token over? Or was that Cold Heart being done? Daggone it, I lost track of my flow. The mob total was 14. That was Speed Freak. MB total, they won. Cold Heart took stress. That's why she's over here. And then it was her turn. And she totaled with 20 to take out more. I think that was their action, right? And now it's his. I'm so sorry. I got a phone call in the middle of the video, and I hate to break the flow like that. So I apologize. I may be goofing some things up here. But it doesn't matter, because I hope this is as awesome in your head as it is in mine, because this just seems like so rad. So he's going to kind of try to pull a baller move, and I think he's going to, I think he might step up his stress and try to, like, in place, sort of like spin, because he's not on the ground, sort of spin and just smash the plates across the face plates of as many Hydra goons as he can, as he does like a sort of jump dodge, kind of to follow through the air, maybe up and over. Yeah. Or maybe not up and over. Maybe he's going to go through. He's just going to like barge through, and we'll step up his stress. So we're going to take that D8 and we're going to make it a D10, and we'll step it up to a D10 at the end. Plus his D12 offering plates, plus his solo die, plus his distinction, which I think will be, do we want to go tragic family? He doesn't want to lose what he has. Let's do tragic family. Let's do it at D4. Give him another plot point. And combat expert. 8. Ugh. Okay. Well, we could put a D6. Why? This is broken. Do that, and now he has 4 plot points. And his total is, we can do 8, 6, 4. That's 18. With a D12. And then the rest have to be D4s, right? So I'm going to spend 5. So I'm going to spend 2 plot points. How would that work? I don't think I can do what I'm trying to do. Yeah, I think I can. No, it's going to be too complicated. Got loads of plot points, though. Mob's reaction is going to be 5d8 plus 1d6 against an 18, which they definitely cannot beat. So that is, so they rolled that. So let's give him a stunt die. And now that they're going to be separated from the pack, now they could do something cool like a grenade. And if I have them add to a total of 6, with whatever, it doesn't matter. D6. No, wait, it would be a D8. So that would step up twice. So the D6 and then the D8. Last time it isn't enough to take out another die. You need to overcome it. So one of them is gone. And now there is essentially D8 stress on this die right. Okay. So the next, even a D6 or a D4 stress will take out another die. Yeah. All right, that's him. And now we come to her. And let's see. They are clear. And she has no plot points. She is almost out. So maybe... I mean, I think she's just gonna have to... No, they need to stay nearby. Maybe because they're free now, she can reach down and grab like a... Or maybe from one of the fallen Hydra agents, she grabs like a riot shield. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. She grabs a riot shield, and that will help her in her reaction rolls. A little asset for that. Let's do that. Let's do asset creation. So it's going to be solo. And government training. I still like the idea of using At Last as a D4. It's so fitting. Just like this is their final stand, maybe. Nothing there, but combat expert 1d8. And I will add in the 1d8 stress that's on this mob die here. And I think that's what I can do to create an asset. We can do a total of 12 with a d4. Well, that's not very helpful. Let's do a total of 8 with d8. And I will have the Doom Pool. No, I'm not going to have the Doom Pool do anything. The Doom Pool will just roll. I was going to buy her opportunity, but I don't think I'm going to. 6. Of course it's a 6. All right, so she gets a D8 asset. Riot shields. All right, that's her action, and then now we have the baddies. I mean, it's just got to be... At this point, it's just going to be a shootout. But I don't think they're going to win. So I think she gets the riot shield, and I think Speed Freak has his offering plates. I think they're going to have to go. I really don't want them. I want them to beat up the Hydra agents. I want them to beat up the Hydra agents badly. Yeah. So I think the Hydra agents are just going to try and attack Speed Freak. Or try and attack Cold Heart because she's almost out. So they get 4d8 plus 1d6 plus her stress of 1d12. But then she's going to get her d8 riot shield. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be bad. 7 and 8 is 15 with d6 effects. Stress on Cold Heart. They rolled that. He's definitely going to get another stunt. He's going to get another stunt die. Stop it. No, did it take it off? He had 4, right? No, maybe not. Speed Freak is going to close us out in a major way. So Cold Heart has to react 1d10 plus the 1d8 stress that's on them, plus how about heroes are the villains? Heroes are the villains. Because they're fighting Hydra. Because everybody should fight Hydra. 1d8 for their combat, and then 1d8 for the riot shields. Yeah. Okay. Don't think that 7 and a 6 is 13. If I spend a plot point, I can make it to 16. I have to do that. And with a d8 effect. So she's still in, but only barely. All right, Speed Freak, please do some amazing stunts and bring us all home. All right, they're in a condemned church. Song is playing. Hydra agents. A cold heart. Okay. I think that the final beat of the song, or the final like verse of the song, is going to play out like the last piece. I think Speed Freak and Cold Heart are going to hold each other. Speed Freak, maybe he has some like low quality like kit bashed together rocket boots, because that's part of his costume, but he's like made some, they're not fully even finished, right? I think he's gonna just jump into those, and with Cold Heart, like the two of them are gonna embrace like they were at the beginning, and he jumps into the rockets, and I think they look around. The mob of Hydra agents is like in a semicircle, sort of closing in, and they just like, he clicks his heels, so to speak, and they just rocket off through the maybe there's a big stained glass window, and they just off into the night. But in doing so, the flames from the rocket boots just like the carpet and the tapestries, and just huge flames jet out and engulf things. And so like the final view is just like almost like a shooting star up and out over the church, while the church, through the windows you can see that there's flames flickering inside. So we kind of started with the candlelight, and maybe this is just like punctuates it, and the song is just back and in full force. And so we have Speed Freak and Cold Heart once again on the lam. Without their stuff, they'll have to figure it out, but it's like a crossing the threshold moment. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. All right, this was a long video, for which I don't apologize at all. But I've been, ever since I rolled this stuff up a couple days ago, and then yesterday was thinking about it all day, like what do I want to do and which characters and stuff like that. So cool. And we have a lowly D6 Doom die, which I'm sure Scott will appreciate, among other things. So we're gonna bring the video. Oh no. Remember, we have to pick up with Natasha. So they rocket out into the sky, and maybe we can see that from the distance, and then as we pan down, we pick back up at the river's edge, and Natasha is pulling Griffin's drenched body up onto the shore, and she begins sort of fiddling with the back of it, and it turns out that it also was a life model decoy. And that's like the bookend, the revelation that at least some of these characters that we have encountered so far have been life model decoys, or life model decoy-esque, robots of some kind, not necessarily the shield models, but yeah, and that's where we end. Oh, so good. And the final notes of that song playing out, and then we pick up again with Natasha. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it so much. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate your patience. Editing BW is going to have a little bit of work cut out for him before he can release the video, but that's all right. If I missed anything, and I'm positive I did, please point it out in the comments. I will put it in the description so that folks know when they're coming in. I may even put in some bookmarks, or a bookmark in the description, so that we can fast forward through all the talking at the beginning, if people don't like that sort of thing. But either way, thanks so much for watching. Again, if you have any questions or anything, throw them in the comments, and I will catch you next time. Excelsior.